All right, today we're jumping into a fantastic scientific detective story. It's a biological mystery that was locked away for ages in the rivers of India, and we're going to look at how one scientist finally cracked the case. So here's the puzzle that had scientists scratching their heads for decades. You've got these certain freshwater fish species, right? And they're living happily in streams on the Malayan Peninsula. But they're also found, get this, in the Western Ghats Mountains of southern India. How is that possible? We're talking freshwater fish. They can't just swim across the ocean. And there was absolutely nothing, no related species, in the thousands of kilometers of land between them. When you look at it on a map, you really get a sense of just how wild this is. Over on the right, you have the Malayan Peninsula, and way over on the left, the southern tip of India. That is a massive gap. It's a journey that, by any modern logic, should be completely impossible. So what were they missing? And look, this wasn't just some weird little factoid. It was a huge problem that challenged the very science of how life spreads across the planet. So there's a whole field for this stuff. It's called biogeography. Think of it like planetary forensics. It uses the location of animals and plants as clues to piece together what the Earth used to look like. And this whole case of the disconnected fish, it was a real head-scratcher for them. To solve a mystery like this, you need a theory. You need a bold idea that could somehow connect these two incredibly distant places, back in time. And that big idea came to be known as the Satpura hypothesis. It was proposed back in 1949 by Dr. S.L. Hora. And honestly, it's pretty brilliant. He suggested that the Satpura mountain range in central India wasn't always just sitting there by itself. He thought it was once part of a much longer, continuous, and really wet mountain chain, one that stretched all the way from the Himalayas down into southern India. Basically a perfect, rain-soaked highway for fish and other aquatic life to migrate west.
And what's really cool is the geology actually backs this up. The Indian subcontinent did not always look the way it does now. Check out these maps from the original research. On the left, in the diagram labeled pre-tilt, see those arrows? They show that the ancient rivers actually flowed westward. They created a connected waterway right along that mountain range Dr. Hora was talking about, a literal river highway flowing in the exact direction you need for this migration.
But hey, a good theory is just a good story until you've got proof. And that's where our hero enters the picture, a scientist who is ready to put this whole idea to the ultimate test. Just 2 years after Hora proposed his hypothesis, a researcher named A.G.K. Menon came up with a really clever experiment. His thinking was, okay, if these fish migrated from Malaysia, they probably took one of two paths, either Hora's central Satpura route, or maybe they took an alternate route along the Eastern Ghats, those mountains on India's east coast. So his plan was simple: go investigate the Eastern Ghats. If the Malayan fish were there, well, that would point to a coastal route. But if they weren't there, that would be a whole different story. And his method was just so clean and systematic. Step 1, do a massive survey of all the fish in the Eastern Ghats. Step 2, catalog every single species you find. And then, step 3, the most important part. Compare that list to the known fish from the Malayan Peninsula. He was going to let the fish themselves tell him what happened. So, with the plan set, Menon got to work, pulling his clues, one by one, directly from the rivers and streams of the region. And let me tell you, this was no small job. I mean, just look at a single page from his data tables here. The man meticulously collected and analyzed records for 93 different species of fish. He was out there in the streams, casting nets, documenting everything, and building a complete picture of all the aquatic life in the entire area. And after all that painstaking work, the result was shockingly clear. Of all the species he studied in the Eastern Ghats, the percentage that was related to those Malayan fish was 0. A big fat 0. Nothing. Instead, almost all of them, 92%, were either common species found all over India or were clearly related to fish from way up north in the Ganges River system. So, clue number 1 was basically the evidence of absence. The missing fish were the most important clue of all. By finding absolutely no trace of those Malayan species, Menon proved pretty definitively that the Eastern Ghats could not have been the migration highway. The fish just didn't go that way. Then you have clue number 2, which comes from the rocks themselves, the geology. Menon's findings lined up perfectly with what we know about the land's history. Those ancient rivers that connected the mountain ranges, they flowed west, feeding right into that Satpura route. The rivers in the Eastern Ghats, the ones flowing east, they only formed way later, after the whole landmass tilted. The fish timeline and the river timeline, they just fit together perfectly.
I mean, Menon himself put it perfectly in his 1951 paper. He says the Eastern Ghats are this really ancient, geologically separate feature of India. They were a wall, not a bridge for the kind of life he was tracking. So, with all the clues gathered and all the evidence on the table, it was time for Menon to deliver his conclusion, a verdict that reached back millions and millions of years. And this is the real genius of his whole investigation. It's such a classic detective move. By systematically proving where the fish did not go, by eliminating the Eastern Ghats route, he left only one other logical possibility on the table. He provided powerful, indirect evidence that the original Satpura hypothesis had to be correct. The fish must have taken that mountain highway through the center of India.
He summed it all up perfectly right here in his conclusion. He says, look, while land animals might have used other routes, the total absence of the Malayan element in the fish proves that the aquatic life, our fish, did not take this route. Mic drop, case closed.
So why does all this matter? What's the big takeaway? It's that the location of a single little fish in a stream today can be like a living fossil. The way life is spread out around us isn't random at all. It's a living map that holds the memory of Earth's deep history, of ancient mountains that aren't there anymore, and forgotten rivers that have long since dried up. It really makes you wonder, if one group of fish can tell us a story about an entire subcontinent tilting, what other incredible ancient secrets are out there, swimming in our planet's rivers, just waiting for the right person to come along and read the clues?